International breaks are the worst. The club football that everyone absolutely loves is taken away and it's replaced by a bunch of international stars who are the second choice because everyone else has decided that they've got a little bit of a boo-boo and they can't be arsed showing up for international duty this time out. But this time I'm slightly less persuaded on that argument because this international break could be huge for Leeds United's season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain sort of what's been going on so far with the international breaks, what it means for Leeds United going into this one, the little sort of development that we've had, and what that could mean for the rest of the season going forwards. But before I do that, subscribe. It's massively appreciated, and only about, I think, 40% of you guys are subscribed, and it's a single click away, so that'd be massively appreciated. Anyway, hopping into it. We are currently 3 international breaks into this season, which is a lot, I would say, for a season that started in August. We had one in September, October, November. Too many, comfortably, and thankfully this is the last one until March because our history with international breaks is absolutely dire. Coming out of the last international break last season, for example, injuries all over the shop, we couldn't regain our form and we ended up not getting promoted. Obvious to see why that might not be our most favourite thing. Clearly did a little bit of damage, but thankfully there aren't any more until March. We've got a nice 4-month stint where we don't have to think about international football. Everyone can focus on the club, and that'd be brilliant. And it's especially useful because for some people, it gives you a little bit of time. Because we have seen a pretty promising Instagram post that has come out from Ramazani, who is now back in training. He posted him sat in seemingly a changing room in some boots, seemingly ready to get to it, because if he was just doing gym work, why are you wearing football boots? Might be doing stuff on his own, might be doing stuff with the squad, but either way, shows that he's very close, and with the next matches being about a week and a half away, feeling very, very happy about the fact that he might be back for those. I say this, he's probably back in training. You got to remember I'm taking this from an image that he put on an Instagram story. It would be very weird to put up if he wasn't back in training, but there is the chance that he isn't. If it does prove to be wrong, that's on me. I may have read too much into it, but it screams that he's back. But this is pretty big for our season. A lot of people's complaints in the past few weeks have been around the fact that maybe we're not creative enough, maybe we're not explosive enough down that left flank, because we've got Sam Byron playing out there right now. Manor Solomon isn't someone that is going to be direct and get at a defender as often as someone like a Laji Ramazani. So having him back out on that left wing could completely change the structure and shape and the way that we play down the left-hand side. Frees up Willie Nonto as well, which is absolutely wonderful because he's not been on form. And I think this is the perfect little development to get our season back up and running. But a concern that a lot of people have had is, does he get straight back in? Because we've seen with Daniel Farker, if someone gets injured, then they're out of the squad, and then other players have played their way into the side, and it's quite hard for them to dislodge them if you're back to full fitness. But it's quite important to note that this has tended to happen when players have been good in those other roles. For example, last season, you ended up in a situation where we had an injury to... I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Come on, brain, you can do this. But there was a period where you had, for example, Ilya Grove sat on the bench. And he waited and he waited and he waited and he waited until there was an injury. I think it was to Pascal Struijk. Ampadu moved backwards. Grove moved into midfield. And Grove didn't lose that spot for the rest of the season. Obviously, because Grove was very good in that role and it carried through into this season. But looking at the wings, no one's done that. No one has stamped their authority down and said, no, you know what? I deserve this starting spot from Laji Ramazani. Manor Solomon, first couple of games looked really, really good. Fantastic. Has dropped a little bit since then because he is still also recovering from an injury. Dan James, also on the road to recovery, has been pretty good, but he's not been at his best. I think this is going to be a case of you see Laji Ramazani maybe on the bench for a game, maybe 2. Then if he has a good impact coming off the bench and he manages to really change those games, that's going to be brilliant for us. And he gets right back in my opinion, because we know what he can do. What he was doing to Watford in the first however long before he was injured, like 17, 18 minutes, I think, was incredible. And us losing him, I think, has genuinely caused damage to our season. So having him back is going to be colossal. And that is one of the big benefits of an international break. It gives you time for players to get back. And the same applies for our other injured players. Ethan Ampadu, for example, I think we expected him back in December, January. But for every international break, that's 2, maybe 3 games that aren't getting played in the championship that get pushed later and later and later in the schedule, which means that someone like an Ethan Ampadu is able to say, fantastic, a little bit more time to recover, I can be involved in more matches. The same applies for Ilya Gruev. We have a couple of injured players at the minute, and these international breaks are going to be brilliant for us getting the squad together with as many games left as possible. So the question at the end of the day is, should we enjoy this? No, I can't even make that joke. We absolutely shouldn't enjoy the international break. They are still stupid, especially the Nations League. It doesn't need to exist, especially when footballers are already complaining about match load and all this sort of stuff. It's wild. And it doesn't seem like something that's going to be improving. And I feel like at the end of this international break, whilst it's good that we're likely to have more players back, we're still running the risk of Tanaka and Aronson and Firpo. Less Firpo, because he's still got 2 games of his suspension left. But Aronson and Tanaka, for example, will be shipping themselves across the world time and time again over this next couple of weeks to make sure that they are in place for matches for Japan and the USA and back in time to play for Leeds. So it's still going to cause some problems, but I think there is something of a positive light with this international break. I'm not enjoying it, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there is something to be said for the time that it's giving us to get our players back, especially someone like Laji Ramazani. But at the end of the day, as always, that is just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Quick, important announcement. If you are a channel member, which is the 99p a month thing, you can go to your members feed on my channel, look at the post that I've put recently, and if you pop a comment on there, you can put yourself forwards to be in this, well, probably next week's, because I still need to organise things, episode of Balls Knowledge. I'm going to have one channel member on there every single week from here on out to see how my channel does against Leeds United creators. Please do well. Please. We need it. Just to prove a point. So do that. If you fancy popping on the channel at any point, that'd be massively appreciated. Or just ping me a message if you want to chat about anything. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not yet. Become a channel member. And comment what you think. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. I just want Largy back. Largy makes me feel happy things. Imagine a front 3 that is Ramazani, Ruter, Rafinha. All ours. All perfect. So good. See you later.